The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. This is funny. Literally, as I was preparing for this episode and remembering what I talked about yesterday, which was expanding out to more, not more, but, getting more health stuff in the mix, getting more AI back in the mix. I was about to start recording and jump right back into geopolitics. And then I'm like, wait a minute, dude. Wait a minute. What do you have, short-term amnesia? Didn't you remember what you talked about yesterday? But you know what? We're gonna cover a lot of different things. How about that? We're gonna cover a lot of different things. All right. So I would be remiss. I love that word. That goes back to my Procter & Gamble days with Adam Ross, one of my first bosses. He gets another shout out. I've shouted him out before. Dude doesn't listen to this, but anyway, he said to me, Ray D, I would be remiss as your manager if I didn't blah, blah, blah. And that's always stuck with me. So anyway, let me talk about a variety of things today and really kind of tie together a few things from the past couple weeks. But man, it's crunch time. It's crunch time. Let's see what happens over the weekend. Let's see if there's any crazy drama in terms of, the election on Tuesday. I will say there's already been some crazy drama. I don't know if you guys saw this, but last Sunday in Pennsylvania, I don't know if it was just the Pennsylvania stations or what, but on ABC, at the bottom of the screen during a Formula One race, which you guys know how much I love Formula One. I actually was watching it. I didn't see it in California, so I'm wondering if it was limited to the local ABC affiliate in Pennsylvania. But this happened.
ABC News just accidentally aired an elections results test in Pennsylvania showing Harris winning by 5 points. They aired it accidentally during a Formula One race earlier.
So the ABC affiliate accidentally aired the election results of the Pennsylvania primary, or I don't even think it's called a primary, but the Pennsylvania election, and they had it as, let me see, 52% to Harris, 47% to Trump, and then it says 100% votes counted. So here's the thing. I mean, I understand television production pretty well, actually, from various aspects of my career, and even podcast production. Nothing accidentally can enter this podcast episode. Okay, that means that there is zero chance a random clip just falls into this episode. All right. Obviously, I have to download, upload, edit, adjust volume levels. I have to do everything with everything you hear in this episode. And that's for an audio only podcast. Now, when you talk about an audio and video television clip, it's 20 times more complicated. And so my point is, there's no way that happened on accident. That's just not how television production and distribution works. There's zero chance of that. There's so many steps involved to overlay the screen with a graphic, or in this case, to underlay the screen with that banner that showed, the election results with 100% of the votes in. So again, I'm not even gonna try and decide why or what. All I'm saying is that stuff cannot happen accidentally. It's just impossible. There's too much logistics involved. All right, so that was a little bit odd. And then I did want to kind of talk about this because it really was kind of a big deal over the past few days. But if you did not catch this. Basically, so the Trump campaign hosted a rally last weekend. I think you guys probably saw this at Madison Square Garden. I think there were like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 people there, and definitely kind of like the last hurrah of the campaign. And, they really just had stupid stuff that took place. And it started off with, I think I mentioned this on maybe Tuesday's episode, but this comedian, Tony Hinchcliffe, who's actually a pretty funny guy. And, he performed at the Tom Brady roast. I didn't think he was that funny actually at the Tom Brady roast, but I've listened to his podcast and I've seen other clips and he's pretty funny. But he basically made a joke that, Puerto Rico was a floating pile of garbage. And I mean, it was just a dumb joke. Like, I don't even understand why he would. Well, first of all, I don't understand why they would have him. And then secondly, why he made that joke. Actually wasn't even funny. So, they came under fire for that. And so the Democrats attacked that, which again, I guess I would attack it as well. And so, they really called it a Nazi rally, and they've really been trying to associate Nazis with the Republican Party and then Trump with Hitler. I mean, that's definitely been that narrative that I think I talked about the other day that I've seen take place. But whatever, they, again, rising to 30,000 feet. If I was them, I would have done the same thing. And then on the flip side, President Biden came out and in a video call, I think it was, he basically said it was Trump's supporters who were garbage. So then the Republican Party jumped all on that. I'm not going to play these clips for you guys. I'm just going to talk this through a little. So then the Trump side and the Republicans jumped all over that and saying that President Biden called, 80 million Trump supporters garbage. So here's my take on both of them. They both sides did the right thing, as much as I hate to say it, but they're capitalizing on a mistake made by their enemy. And again, this is 30,000 feet looking down. They're capitalizing on a mistake made by their enemy. So I don't fault either side for doing it, because politics is dirty, man. It's dirty, and we are down to the wire. So it's like the last set of dirty tricks are taking place. But in both situations, I think they're just both nothing burgers. I really do. I think what was said in poor taste at the Republican little gathering in Madison Square Garden's a nothing burger. And then I think what Biden said's a nothing burger. And, the sad thing is whether people whom were undecided will let one of those two things, help make their decision. And I hope it doesn't. I hope they really kind of internalize with themselves, do a deep dive with themselves, and focus on policies and decide whom they think will deliver better policies, quite frankly, for the US of A, first and foremost, and then on a global level. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. All right, let me mix it up. Let me switch over to another topic. Oh my God, I don't know if you guys saw this, but so the Miami Heat, the basketball team in Miami, the Miami Heat, they did one of those bronze statues of Dwayne Wade, and they basically, commemorated his greatness with the Heat and all that. And holy mackerel, this bronze statue of Dwayne Wade looks so ridiculous. It's the weirdest facial expression you've ever seen. I'm trying to think what it reminds me of, but anyway, it has gone viral with like just an absurd amount of memes and all that. If you haven't seen it and want a good laugh, just Google Dwayne Wade bronze statue and it should come up. And man, the dude, actually, I just figured it out. It reminds me of Seal. He looks like Seal, the singer Seal, the one that has kind of like the I don't know if it's acne or some type of scars on his face, but was married to Heidi Klum. A lot of great songs, by the way. Loved Seal. I actually loved PM Dawn as well. You remember PM Dawn? Shed adrift on memory, bliss of you. Doom, doom. I love that guy. Dude was fat, though. Hopefully he's lost some weight. I'll have to look it up and see. I'll have to check in on PM Dawn and see how his health is going. Maybe I'll reach out to him and be like, bro, let's do a step challenge together. All right, anyway, Seal PM Dawn, great stuff. So yeah, the Dwayne Wade statue looks like Seal, and either somebody is like smacking him in the ass real hard, or he's got like extreme painful diarrhea. That's what the facial expression looks like. It's pretty ridiculous. But the memes and the internet has just been on fire. That's like one of those where like somebody posts it and then you open up the comments and the first post is just here for the comments, or oh my God, came here for the comment section. There are some really, really funny people in this world. Man, some of the comments on certain posts are so funny. Oh my God, I love that. All right, next up, I'm going to play for you this clip from Joe Rogan's podcast because, again, I just want to get this on the radar because who knows what is going to happen over the weekend or Monday or Tuesday. You know, again, I mean, who knows? Who knows if we're going to go into some type of chaotic situation and I don't know, people are going to go crazy on one side or the other. But give this a listen.
Did you see this thing that the Biden administration pushed through, this new martial law thing?
Yeah.
This is very disturbing. Jamie, please Google this so we can find out what the actual law states. But it's DOD Directive 5240.01, giving the Pentagon power for the first time in history to use lethal force to kill Americans on U.S. soil who protest government policies.
All right, so DOD is Department of Defense. And so when you Google this Directive 5240.01, I mean, so much comes up on it. On the side that Joe Rogan was talking about, you know, there's arguments saying this gives the military, you know, the ability to like rain terror on citizens if they disagree or protest something the government is doing. And then by the same token, I say that a lot too, don't I? By the same token. You know where I got that from? I got that from one of my great friends, Kevin Tompkins. I don't know if KT listens to the Deep Shallow Dive or not. If he does, KT, that's a shout out to you, brother. By the same token, I did get that from you. That's pretty funny. So by the same token, there's obviously a million articles, and I'm sure this doesn't surprise anybody, that kind of take the other side of that. And basically, here's one that, you know, sums up what that side says. It says, much ado about nothing. Recent changes to Department of Defense Directive 5240.01. Over the past week, recent updates to the DOD policy statement have generated a flurry of rumors in certain online circles, including even Joe Rogan. That's funny. Rogan gets a shout out in this. Commentators have posted that the new language in the directive indicates that the federal government is planning to use lethal force against Americans during or after the upcoming presidential election. In reality, while some of the legal authorities governing domestic deployment of the military lack sufficient safeguards and are in urgent need of reform, the changes to this directive do not reflect any change in DoD policy and provide no new authority to deploy the military domestically or to use lethal force in such deployments. In short, the changes present no reason for concern. So let me give my quick take here. And there's more from Joe Rogan, and I haven't even listened to it. So we'll actually literally listen to the rest of it together for the first time. But, you know, my initial take was that, you know, someone like Joe Rogan, I mean, that's not me in the Deep Shallow Dive. I mean, dude has a enormous audience, probably the largest audience of any single news entity. And that includes the CNN, MSNBC, Fox. Actually, you could probably sum up all those and they wouldn't be as big as Rogan in terms of his reach. So initially I think to myself, okay, this dude must have a monster team that vets everything. He's not going to be speculative about stuff because, again, the stage is too big. But what's hilarious is when you watch Joe Rogan's podcast on Spotify or then on YouTube, I think it's like one dude, this Jamie guy, because he's always like, hey, Jamie, can you Google this and make sure? So I find it hilarious that the vetting process is Jamie and Googling. And the same is actually the case on the Patrick Bet David, the PBD podcast, again, which is another monster podcast. But he's always like, hey, Rob, can you Google this? And like, there's like this one dude named Rob. I guess I got to get one dude. I got to get one dude and be like, hey, Alfonso, can you Google this and make sure that blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I picked the name Alfonso, but so then the next thing I wanted to say before we listen to the rest of what Joe Rogan says is I will tell you what is interesting to me is at the same time this directive has come out, and again, I'm not even saying I believe it or don't believe it. But what I will say is there has been a narrative, and I'm curious if you guys have heard it. There has been a narrative that's been released in the public that Trump wants to unleash the military on civilians. Honestly, I'm not even going to try and find a clip to play it. But again, you could you could Google it and see if that comes up, but it will come up. But over the past couple weeks, really here's what's crazy. From a timing standpoint, coinciding with the timing of the release of this directive, you are hearing that narrative being communicated on left-leaning platforms and through left-leaning pundits about Trump mobilizing the military against American citizens. I'll try to find something. I didn't feel like doing it today, but I promise you that's been out there. Like I said, I'll try to find something that speaks to that. So my summary of this is, again, I'm not even coming down one way or another, but I did notice those two things happening in concert, and I found that off. How about that? I found that interesting, actually. I found it interesting. All right, let's listen to the rest of this from Rogan.
What are they expecting?
Again, 5240.01. Sounds right?
Is that what it is?
Sorry.
Did I tell you what it is? I'm sorry. 5240.01. DOD Directive. This is from RFK Jr. Posted this on Twitter, and I'm finding out about it because people are blowing me up about it. That's fucking terrifying. That is a terrifying thing to push through for the first time in U.S. history, giving the military the ability to shoot and kill.
All right, you know what? I don't need a Rob or a Jamie or an Alfonso. I Googled this while I was listening to that. So I Googled Trump wants military to attack civilians. And so listen to these headlines. And this is from October 13th and October 14th. So really 2 weeks ago. PBS.org. Trump suggests he'll use the military on, quote, the enemy from within if he's elected or if he's reelected. CNN.com. Trump suggests using military against, quote, enemy from within on election day. That's pretty crazy. RollingStone.com. Trump wants the military to target Americans who oppose him. Holy mackerel. The Washington Post. Donald Trump urges deploying military against radical left on November 5th. So that is pretty wild. Think about that. It's a policy passed by Biden, and then you've got the narrative being created, or being, I don't even want to say created. You heard the articles. And again, Google this for yourself if you want. Here's another one from The Guardian. Trump sparks outrage after calling for army to handle enemies from within on election day. So notice that every single one of them said enemies from within. And it's in, not quotes, but what do you call it? I don't even know. The 1 dash versus 2. Oh my God, I'm blanking on what that is. Whatever. Let's just say quotes. So that's pretty wild. I use that phrase a lot these days too, I realize. But that is wild that they're using that same enemies from within. Come on. Now that is interesting. That's what I was talking about yesterday. If you didn't listen to the episode, you should go back and listen. But what I was talking about in terms of, really just I'm at a point where this stuff, it's apparent to me. I mean, it really is apparent to me. And when I see 25 articles from major sources that are all using the same language, and it's language that is not commonplace, enemies from within. Yeah, I mean, that's a relatively common statement, but not really. It's not really common enough for them all to use in the same article. That's something. I really do think that's something. And then, like Rogan said earlier, he said that RFK Jr. was the one who put that out. And again, here's my take on that. Say what you will about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you don't like him. Obviously, I like a lot of things about him. There are certain things that I don't like about him, and that's real talk right there. But again, he is a super smart, savvy guy, and he has resources, and he's very vetted and well-read, and he's an attorney himself. So I don't see him necessarily just blatantly lying. Now, again, obviously everything's open for interpretation, but my point is when something is being said by RFK Jr. or by Joe Rogan or by any entity that has, I guess more to lose. Maybe that's even a way to think about it. Again, I'm not saying it's all, you should take everything as gospel and as truth. All I'm saying is they have more to lose and they know they have a bigger platform. So I would imagine there's some intelligent vetting that, goes into it before, statements are made. But you know what? I could be totally wrong in that. All right, let's listen to the rest of this.
American citizens.
That's crazy too. And it's interesting because, with the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act and stuff like that, it's almost like they kind of, in a weird way, just make it legal what they're already doing. If you use,
what is that? The Smith Modernization Act?
The Smith-Mundt Modernization Act that Obama pushed through, which basically made it so it was legal for the U.S. government to use propaganda.
So I've never heard of the Smith Modernization Act. I'll have to look into that. There is something called Project Mockingbird. Is it Mockingbird or Hummingbird? I think it's Mockingbird. That actually is something I need to deep dive into and bring to you guys, because that was what I thought was sort of the legalization of government propagandizing its citizens. I think it's called Mockingbird. Yeah, Mockingbird. Can't be called Hummingbird. That's goofy.
Against its citizens, which they were already doing in different ways through CIA and all that stuff. So it sounds like we can legally do it. You can't sue us now.
How crazy is it that it's illegal to lie?
How crazy is that?
For the government to not just legally lie, but they can concoct completely fabricated stories just to push a narrative if they decide that it's in the best interest of national security or whatever.
To just manipulate energy in your mind and all that stuff to get you to believe certain things. And we need to bring back shame. That's my opinion.
Well, they have none. It's not going to work. You can't bring back shame to lizard people.
Yeah, they can't. They can't feel anything. It's in their reptilian brains.
All right, you know what? I do love Googling it while the clip is playing. So it is called Operation Mockingbird, and it is an alleged large-scale program of the CIA that began in the early years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate domestic American news organizations for propaganda purposes. According to author Deborah Davis, Operation Mockingbird recruited leading American journalists into a propaganda network and influenced the operations of front groups.
Which is some weird shit going on right now with that.
It's weird because, like, you know that David Icke stuff where he said they're all lizard people? I don't think they're really lizard people. I don't think they're really shapeshifters, but they do behave in a reptilian way, like a corporation does, like a psychopath.
That's another thing. He mentioned this David Icke. He's like a British guy, really sharp guy, but very controversial, kind of like Alex Jones type guy that over the years has predicted a ton of things that have turned out true. But again, comes off very controversial. And so people are like, oh, he's controlled opposition. They tell him what's going to happen, and then he acts like he predicts it. Anyway, what I was going to say was this whole lizard people and like reptilian shapeshifters, all this stuff. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I really don't even understand it that much. I'll have to look into kind of what their overall meaning is. I know they talk about like Mark Zuckerberg being a lizard person and all that.
I don't know if they're actual reptilians, dude, but there is something going on that they are a group of people because they're all related, which is very weird. If you you go back far enough, they're all related. Like if you study Obama and Bush, right? Because I remember when Obama was running, I was like, oh, change. It's going to be change.
Hope and change.
Hope and change. And then you start studying like the Bushes and the Obamas, and their first ancestor, their common ancestor is a Hinckley, dude.
Hinckley? That's like the dude that tried to kill, I forget who he tried. Did he try to kill Reagan?
Right? And you go...
Like John Hinckley, the guy who tried to kill
100%.
What?
Yes. Their common ancestor is a Hinckley. And then when you realize that...
Hinckley was related to Obama and Bush?
All right. Again, this is wild. And like I said, I hadn't listened to this clip yet. So by the way, Joe Rogan is interviewing this guy named Sam Tripoli, who's a stand-up comedian, writer, host of Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli. I'd never heard of this guy before, but I'm going to have to listen to this entire episode. So this is what he's saying about the Obamas and Bushes being related to John Hinckley. And that's the dude that tried to shoot Reagan. I will say this. I have always thought, well, not always, actually, really only the past maybe year or so after getting into deep shallow dive mode, but I wanted to figure out a way to see if there was the connection between, George H. Bush, Papa Bush. I would not have put it past him to have tried to assassinate Reagan. I'm not even kidding. Because remember, he was the vice president, so that would have made him president.
And related to the Bushes had dinner with the Hinckleys the night before Reagan got shot. And here's the craziest thing.
What?
Yeah. Is that crazy?
Do you think, I always thought Hinckley was a lone nut that was infatuated with Jodie Foster. No,
dude. And there's actually interviews, dude, where he said, Uncle George told me to do it.
Holy shit. How funny is that? I swear to God, I had not listened to this clip. That's funny.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Didn't they just let him out?
Yeah, and now he's doing like plain and coffee beans because he's put out an album or something like that. he's touring off it. But that's a crazy thing.
Barack Obama, the 10th cousin once removed of George W. Bush, through Samuel Hinckley of Cape Cod. Holy shit.
I mean, that is wild. That is wild. Look at that connection between John Hinckley, the Bushes, and Obama. Dude, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. All right. Man, this episode got away from me a little bit, but hey, we talked about a variety of things. I will end on the most important. Get out there and vote. Seriously, I respect whomever you decide to support. I truly do. But vote. Whether it's by mail or in person or whatever, just get out there and vote. If you are not registered, I think you can even get registered at the polling locations. I don't think it's too late. Get out there and vote. Call a spade a spade. Get your steps in over the weekend if you can. If it's cold wherever you live, heck, go to a Costco and walk around Costco or a Sam's Club for 45 minutes or an hour. Literally go aisle by aisle. I'm not kidding. I've done that before where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go get some steps in, and I will literally go to Costco and I will walk every aisle. I will look at all the stuff and I will get like 7,000 steps in. It's pretty insane. All right, everybody, call a spade a spade. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend. And I will try to get an episode out for Monday in prep for Big Tuesday. And then definitely, obviously, we'll get an episode out on hopefully Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, that's it. Talk to you later.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.